What if everything you know, everything you see, everything you are exists not once but infinitely? What if every choice you never made, every path you never walked, every word you never spoke, all exist somewhere in the vast tapestry of reality? Tonight, we embark on a journey beyond the borders of our universe, into a realm where the impossible becomes inevitable and where you exist in countless forms. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that somewhere in another universe, another you is making a different choice right now. Let's explore the multiverse together and find tranquility in infinity. We begin our journey at the edge of comprehension itself. For thousands of years, humans have looked up at the night sky and asked the deepest questions. What is out there? Where does it all end? And perhaps most hauntingly, are we alone? But what if these questions have been too small all along? What if the universe you see when you look up is not the universe, but merely a universe? One island in an infinite archipelago of realities. This is the possibility that modern physics has brought us to, not through fantasy, but through careful observation and rigorous mathematics. Tonight, we will explore this possibility together, and you may find that the multiverse offers not confusion, but a strange and beautiful kind of peace. The word multiverse sounds like science fiction, and perhaps that is why it feels both thrilling and impossible at once. But let me guide you gently into this concept. The multiverse is not a single idea, but a collection of theories, each suggesting in its own way that our cosmos is far larger and stranger than we ever imagined. Some versions propose that infinite universes bubble into existence alongside our own. Others suggest that reality splits with every quantum event, creating parallel timelines. Still others imagine universes with entirely different physical laws, where the very fabric of space and time operates under alien rules. As we journey through these ideas tonight, remember that each one is rooted in real science, in equations that describe our world with stunning accuracy. You might wonder why scientists, people dedicated to observable facts and measurable phenomena, would entertain such seemingly wild ideas. The answer is beautifully simple. The multiverse theories are not inventions, but discoveries. They emerge naturally from our best theories of physics when we follow the mathematics to its logical conclusion. When physicists study cosmic inflation, the rapid expansion of the early universe, the equations suggest that what inflated once could inflate endlessly, creating bubble after bubble of space. When quantum mechanics is taken seriously in its entirety, without arbitrary limits, it implies that all possible outcomes of quantum events do occur, each in its own branch of reality. The multiverse is not something we wanted to find. It is something the universe itself seems to be showing us through the language of mathematics. But before we dive deeper into the specific theories, let us pause and consider what this means for you personally. If the multiverse is real, then the story of existence is infinitely larger than any one life or any one world. Every moment of beauty you have experienced, every connection you have made, every struggle you have overcome exists as a precious and unique thread in an infinite tapestry. There is something deeply comforting in this. Your life is not diminished by the possibility of infinite others. It is made more precious, more miraculous. In a multiverse, the fact that you exist at all, that you are conscious and aware in this particular universe at this particular moment, becomes an extraordinary stroke of cosmic fortune. So as we journey through these ideas, let them bring you peace rather than vertigo. There is also a philosophical dimension to our exploration tonight. The multiverse challenges us to reconsider some of humanity's oldest questions. Questions about purpose, meaning, and our place in the grand scheme of things. If everything that can happen does happen somewhere in the multiverse, what does that mean for free will? For morality? For the significance of our choices? These are not just abstract puzzles. They touch the core of what it means to be human. And yet, as we will discover, the multiverse need not rob existence of meaning. In fact, it may reveal that meaning is not bestowed from outside, but created from within, through the conscious experience of beings like you and me. The multiverse does not make you less significant. It reveals that significance itself is a product of awareness and connection. As you settle deeper into your journey tonight, take a moment to breathe slowly, in and out. Feel the solid reality of your body, the weight of your presence in this universe. What we are about to explore is vast and strange, but you are anchored here, safe in this moment. The multiverse, if it exists, does not intrude upon your reality. It simply expands the canvas of existence beyond what you can see. Think of it like this. You are reading a book, and suddenly you realize that the library containing your book has infinite shelves, each holding stories you will never read. Does that make your story less real? Less important? Of course not. It simply means that reality is more generous, more abundant than you imagined. Let that thought bring you calm as we continue. Our journey will take us through several distinct landscapes of thought. We will explore the inflationary multiverse, born from the explosive expansion of the early cosmos. We will venture into the quantum multiverse, where reality branches with every measurement and every choice. We will consider universes with different physical constants, places where stars never form or where matter itself takes unrecognizable forms. And throughout this journey, we will return again and again to the most important question. Not just whether the multiverse exists, but what it means for you. How does it change the way you see yourself, your life, your place in the cosmos? These are the questions that will guide us through the night, and I promise that by the end, you will see your own universe with new eyes. So let us begin this journey together, you and I, as fellow travelers in the infinite. Leave behind your worries about the day, your anxieties about tomorrow. Here, in this moment, suspended between the known and the unknown, you are exactly where you need to be. The multiverse awaits, not as a destination, but as a new way of seeing. And perhaps, as we explore these parallel worlds and alternate realities, you will discover something unexpected. That the greatest mystery is not out there in the cosmos, but within you, the conscious observer who can contemplate infinity itself. Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Let the wonder wash over you. We are about to step beyond the edge of everything you thought was real. To understand the multiverse, we must first understand what we mean by a universe. This might seem obvious, but bear with me, because the answer is more subtle than you might think. When you look around you, you see matter, energy, space, and time. You see stars and galaxies extending in all directions. This is your universe, the totality of everything that can physically affect you or be affected by you. It is the region of space-time that has been causally connected since the Big Bang. But here is the profound question. Is this region the entirety of reality itself? Or is it simply our local patch of something vastly larger? This question, once philosophical, has become scientific. And the answer may be that our universe is just one bubble in an infinite foam. The universe you inhabit came into being nearly 14 billion years ago in an event we call the Big Bang. But this name is misleading. It was not an explosion in space. It was an explosion of space itself. In the first fraction of a second, the universe expanded from a point smaller than an atom to something vast beyond comprehension. Space itself was born, and with it, time. Matter and energy emerged from pure quantum potential, and the story of stars, galaxies, planets, and eventually, you began. But cosmologists have discovered something remarkable. The Big Bang was not a simple explosion. It was preceded by something even stranger, a period of cosmic inflation where space expanded at speeds that boggle the mind. And it is this inflationary period that opens the door to the multiverse. Imagine a vast ocean, calm and still. Now, imagine a single raindrop falling onto its surface, creating ripples that spread outward. Our universe might be like one of those ripples, spreading outward from a point of disturbance in a much larger medium. But here is where it gets truly fascinating. What if raindrops are falling constantly, everywhere, each creating its own set of ripples? Each ripple would be a universe unto itself, causally disconnected from the others. This is the essence of the inflationary multiverse. If the process that created our universe happened once, why would it happen only once? The same quantum fluctuations that gave birth to our cosmos could be happening eternally, endlessly, everywhere, creating bubble after bubble of space, each one a complete universe with its own Big Bang and its own story. The fabric of reality, then, might be far richer than we ever imagined. Our universe, with its 100 billion galaxies, its dark matter and dark energy, its exquisite fine-tuning that allows stars to shine and life to emerge, might be just one of countless variations on a theme. Some of these other universes might be similar to ours, with only minor differences. Perhaps in one nearby bubble, you made a different choice this morning. Perhaps in another, dinosaurs still walk the earth. But other universes might be radically alien, with different numbers of dimensions, different forces of nature, or even different types of matter entirely. The fabric of reality is not a single cloth, but a patchwork quilt of infinite variety, and we inhabit just one square of that quilt. But how can we claim to know anything about these other universes if we cannot see them or interact with them? This is a fair question, and one that scientists take very seriously. The answer lies in the predictive power of our theories. When physicists developed the theory of cosmic inflation to solve certain puzzles about our universe, they found that the mathematics naturally predicted eternal inflation. The creation of bubble universes was not something they added to the theory. It fell out of the equations automatically. This is how science often works. We develop theories to explain what we observe, and those theories make predictions about things we have not yet observed. Sometimes those predictions seem outlandish, but they are consequences of the mathematics, not flights of fancy. Consider how strange quantum mechanics seemed when it was first discovered. The idea that particles could be in multiple places at once, that observation could change reality, that there was fundamental randomness at the heart of nature. These ideas violated common sense. Yet today, quantum mechanics is the most precisely tested theory in all of science. It describes the behavior of atoms and light with breathtaking accuracy. The multiverse theories are similar. They emerge from our best physics, from theories that have been tested and confirmed in the aspects we can observe. The untested part is simply the logical extension of what we already know works. This does not make the multiverse certain, but it makes it a legitimate scientific hypothesis worth taking seriously. As you rest here, contemplating these ideas, you might feel a sense of smallness. After all, if there are infinite universes, what is the significance of this one? But consider this perspective instead. You are not merely in a universe. You are a part of how the universe knows itself. Through your eyes, the cosmos sees its own beauty. Through your mind, it contemplates its own mysteries. If there are infinite universes, then there are infinite ways for reality to become self-aware, and your awareness is one of them. You are not diminished by infinity. You are infinity becoming conscious of itself. Let that thought settle into you like a warm blanket. You are not separate from the multiverse. You are one of the ways it experiences existence. Let us now journey back to the very beginning, to the first fraction of a second after time itself began. This is where our story of the multiverse truly starts, in a period called cosmic inflation. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, physicists realized that the standard Big Bang model had some puzzling features. Why was the universe so remarkably uniform in all directions? Why was space so flat, neither curving in on itself nor expanding forever? The answer, proposed by physicist Alan Guth and refined by others, was that the universe underwent a brief period of exponential expansion. In less time than it takes light to cross an atom, space expanded by a factor of at least 10 to the power of 26. This is inflation, and it solved many cosmological puzzles in one elegant stroke. But inflation does more than solve problems. It also creates a multiverse. Here is how it works. Imagine a field of energy permeating all of space, something called the inflaton field. In some regions, this field has high energy, and in those regions, space inflates rapidly. But quantum mechanics tells us that fields are never perfectly uniform. They fluctuate randomly, seething with quantum uncertainty. Some regions will decay out of the high energy state, ending inflation and triggering a hot Big Bang. But other regions will remain inflated, continuing to expand and continuing to produce new regions that themselves can inflate. The result is eternal inflation, a process that once it starts, never completely stops. Our universe is one bubble where inflation ended, but the larger inflating space continues to spawn new bubbles forever. Think of it like foam on the surface of the ocean. Each bubble in the foam is separate, contained within its own membrane of surface tension. The bubbles do not interact. They are causally disconnected from one another. Our universe is like one bubble in an infinite cosmic foam. Inside our bubble, space and time began with the Big Bang. The laws of physics took the particular form we observe. Particles gained their masses, forces their strengths, and the stage was set for stars and galaxies and eventually life. But in another bubble far away, things might have unfolded differently. Perhaps the forces of nature have different relative strengths. Perhaps particles have different masses. Each bubble is a complete cosmos unto itself, and each one is a unique variation on the theme of existence. One of the most profound implications of eternal inflation is that it makes the improbable inevitable. Our universe appears to be fine-tuned for life in remarkable ways. The strengths of the fundamental forces, the masses of elementary particles, even the amount of dark energy seem calibrated to allow stars and planets and chemistry to exist. Change any of these values even slightly, and the universe becomes sterile, unable to produce the complexity necessary for life. Some see this fine-tuning as evidence of design, but the multiverse offers a different explanation. If there are infinite universes with different physical properties, then inevitably some will have the right conditions for life. We find ourselves in one of those because, quite simply, we could not find ourselves anywhere else. This is called the anthropic principle. The anthropic principle might sound like circular reasoning, but it has surprising power. Consider a simple analogy. Imagine you are trying to explain why you were born in a hospital that had excellent medical facilities. You could argue that the hospital was designed for your birth. Or you could simply note that babies born in hospitals with good facilities are more likely to survive. You observe yourself in such a hospital not because it was made for you, but because being born there increased your odds of being here to observe anything at all. The multiverse works the same way. The universe seems fine-tuned for life, not because it was designed for us, but because we can only observe universes capable of producing observers. In an infinite multiverse, the existence of life goes from being a profound mystery to being an inevitable statistical outcome. As you contemplate this, you might feel a mix of emotions. On one hand, the multiverse seems to remove the specialness of our universe. We are not unique, but merely lucky. One winning ticket in an infinite lottery. Would look at it another way. The fact that you exist at all, that you can think and feel and wonder, is no less miraculous in a multiverse than in a single universe. The odds of you specifically existing with your exact genetic code and your unique life experiences are infinitesimally small even in this one universe. Add the multiverse, and those odds become even smaller. Here you are. The multiverse does not diminish your existence. It makes your particular instantiation of consciousness even more improbable and therefore even more precious. You are a rare fluctuation in the infinite, a moment of self-awareness in the eternal. Eternal inflation also raises fascinating questions about the beginning itself. If inflation is eternal into the future, always creating new bubbles, was it also eternal into the past? Did it have a beginning at all? Some physicists, including Alexander Vilenkin, have argued that even eternal inflation must have had a starting point, a first moment when the inflating space came into being. Others suggest that the question might be meaningless, that time itself is a property of our bubble universe and not of the larger inflating space. Perhaps the multiverse as a whole is timeless, with no beginning and no end, and time is something that emerges only within individual bubble universes like ours. These questions take us to the very edge of physics, to the boundary where science meets philosophy and wonder. Rest now in the knowledge that you have glimpsed something profound. The process that created our universe, the explosive expansion of space in the first moments after the Big Bang, might be happening constantly throughout a larger reality. Your universe is not the totality of existence, but one flower in an infinite garden. Each flower blooms in its own time, lives its own story, and eventually fades. But the garden itself is eternal, always growing, always blossoming, always creating new possibilities. As you breathe slowly and deeply, imagine yourself as a gardener walking through this infinite garden, appreciating the unique beauty of each universe while knowing that the garden itself has no end. This is the gift of the inflationary multiverse, a vision of existence as eternally creative, endlessly diverse, and infinitely abundant. We now turn to another doorway into the multiverse, one that opens not from cosmology, but from the bizarre world of quantum mechanics. This is perhaps the strangest and most personal version of the multiverse, because it suggests that every moment of your life branches into multiple parallel realities. Every choice you make, every quantum event that occurs in your body or in the world around you, splits reality into different versions, each one as real as the one you experience. This is the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, and it is both beautiful and deeply unsettling. To understand it, we must first journey into the quantum realm itself, where the familiar rules of reality break down and possibility reigns. At the scale of atoms and subatomic particles, the universe behaves in ways that defy intuition. A particle can be in two places at once, existing in what physicists call a superposition of states. It can act like a wave, spreading out over space and then collapse into a point when observed. The act of measurement seems to change reality itself, forcing the universe to choose one outcome from many possibilities. This is the famous observer effect, and it has puzzled physicists since the early days of quantum theory. What is going on? Is the particle really in multiple places before we look? Does consciousness play a role in collapsing the wave function? These questions led to decades of debate and to one of the most radical proposals ever made in physics: the many worlds interpretation. The many worlds interpretation was proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in 1957, though it took decades to gain serious attention. Everett asked a simple but profound question: What if the wave function never actually collapses? What if, instead, all possible outcomes of a quantum measurement really do occur, each in its own separate branch of reality? When you measure the position of a particle and find it here rather than there, perhaps the universe splits. In one branch, you see it here. In another branch, an equally real version of you sees it there. Both outcomes happen. You just happen to be aware of only one of them. This interpretation takes the mathematics of quantum mechanics completely seriously, without adding any ad hoc collapse mechanism. And the result is a multiverse of staggering proportions. Imagine every moment as a branching point. Right now, as you breathe, countless quantum events are occurring in your brain and body. Electrons transition between energy states. Particles decay or remain stable. Each event has multiple possible outcomes, and according to many worlds, each outcome occurs in its own branch. The result is that every second, your reality branches into countless parallel versions. In most branches, things are nearly identical. The quantum events are too small to matter at the macroscopic level. But occasionally, a quantum event has a larger effect. Perhaps a cosmic ray strikes a neuron in your brain, altering a thought. Perhaps a quantum fluctuation affects whether a particular chemical reaction occurs in your body. These small differences can accumulate, leading to branches where your life unfolds differently. The philosophical implications are profound. In the many worlds interpretation, every possibility that can happen does happen. Every choice you could have made, you did make in some branch. Every version of your life that is physically possible is being lived by another version of you in another branch. Right now, in countless parallel universes, countless versions of you are experiencing different variations of this moment. Some differences are tiny. Perhaps you are sitting in a slightly different position or breathing at a different rate. Other differences are larger. Perhaps in one branch you made a different career choice years ago. Perhaps in another you live in a different country. All of these versions are equally real, unfolding simultaneously in the vast quantum multiverse. You might find this idea disturbing or liberating, and both reactions are valid. It can be disturbing to think that your choices do not determine your future, but merely select which branch of an already determined tree you consciously experience. But it can also be liberating. If every possible version of your life exists somewhere, then failure in this branch is not ultimate failure. Success in this branch is not the only success. The pressure of making the right choice is eased by knowing that all choices are made. Yet this does not make your choices meaningless. The version of you that you are, the one you are aware of being, still experiences consequences and still shapes its own journey. The multiverse does not take away your agency. It simply embeds that agency in a larger context of infinite possibility. Let us pause here and breathe together. The many worlds interpretation can feel overwhelming, even disorienting. It challenges our sense of being a single, continuous self in a single, definite reality. But consider this. You already know what it is like to experience only one branch of possibility. That is your entire life up to this moment. Nothing about the many worlds interpretation changes your subjective experience. You still wake up each morning in one world, make decisions in one timeline, experience one stream of consciousness. The existence of other branches does not intrude upon your awareness. They are as inaccessible to you as the future or the distant past. So let the knowledge of the quantum multiverse expand your sense of possibility without disturbing your sense of self. You are still you, living your story, even if that story is one thread in an infinite tapestry. The many worlds interpretation remains controversial among physicists. Some embrace it as the most straightforward reading of quantum mechanics. Others reject it as ontologically extravagant, creating an infinity of unobservable universes to avoid the mystery of wave function collapse. But whether or not many worlds is correct, it has changed how we think about reality. It has shown us that the mathematics of our most fundamental theory naturally suggests a multiplicity of outcomes, a branching tree of possibilities. And it has invited us to ask deeper questions about the nature of probability, observation, and consciousness. As we rest here in the quantum realm, surrounded by the ghostly superpositions of possibility, let yourself feel the strangeness and wonder of a universe far more ambiguous than our senses suggest. Reality might not be singular but plural, not a line, but a branching network. Now that we have explored the concept of quantum branching, let us consider what this means for your life specifically. In the many worlds framework, every decision point in your life creates a branch. But not all branches are created equal. The probability of a particular outcome in quantum mechanics corresponds to the number and weight of the branches where that outcome occurs. When you flip a quantum coin, both heads and tails happen, but in branches of equal weight. The feeling of probability, the sense that some outcomes are more likely than others, comes from the fact that you are more likely to find yourself in branches that have greater weight in the quantum calculation. This is a strange way to think about probability, but it preserves the predictions of standard quantum mechanics while avoiding the collapse of the wave function. What does this mean for the big decisions in your life? Consider a moment when you faced a difficult choice. Perhaps you decided to take a new job or to stay where you were. Perhaps you chose to speak honestly or to remain silent. In the moment, the future seemed uncertain, balanced on the edge of possibility. According to many worlds, both futures happened. In one branch, you took the job. In another, you stayed. Both versions of you are now living out the consequences of their choice, unaware of the other. The version of you that you are conscious of, the one listening to these words, is just one among many. And yet, your experience is not diminished by this. You are living your story fully, completely, even if it is one story among infinitely many. There is a curious form of immortality implied by the many worlds interpretation, though it is not the immortality of eternal life in a single timeline. In every moment, there are quantum events that could lead to your death or your continued survival. According to many worlds, both outcomes occur in different branches, but you can only remain conscious in the branches where you survive. This leads to a strange consequence called quantum immortality. From your subjective perspective, you might always find yourself in branches where you survive, no matter how improbable. Of course, this is a deeply controversial idea, and it does not comfort those who love you, who will experience your death in branches where it occurs. But it suggests that from the inside, consciousness might always persist in some branch of the multiverse. Let us not dwell too long on such speculative ideas, but instead return to the comfort and wonder of the present moment. You are here now, aware and conscious in this particular branch of reality. Whether or not infinite other versions of you exist in parallel branches, this version of you, your subjective experience, is irreducibly real. The thoughts you are thinking, the feelings you are feeling, the breath moving through your body, all of this is happening now in this timeline. The many worlds interpretation does not make your experience less real. It simply places your experience within a larger context. You are one voice in an infinite chorus, and the song you are singing is yours alone, even as it harmonizes with countless variations sung by your other selves in other timelines. There is beauty in that thought. The many worlds interpretation also changes how we think about regret. When you look back at a decision and wish you had chosen differently, you might find some comfort in knowing that another version of you did make that different choice. Somewhere in the quantum multiverse, the path you did not take was taken. The life you wonder about is being lived. Coase, this does not erase the consequences of your choices in this branch. You still must live with what you decided, for better or worse. But perhaps it can ease the weight of regret, knowing that possibility itself is never truly lost in the quantum multiverse. Every road not taken is taken somewhere. Every version of your life that could unfold does unfold. You are living one beautiful, specific instantiation of infinite possibility. Of course, the many worlds interpretation raises as many questions as it answers. How do the branches separate? Are they truly disconnected, or do they remain entangled in some subtle way? Can information ever leak between branches? Physicists continue to debate these questions, exploring the mathematical structures that might underlie the branching process. Some researchers have suggested that the branches never fully separate but continue to exist as different components of a universal wave function, interfering with each other in ways too subtle to observe. Others propose that the branches become effectively independent, isolated in their own portions of an abstract quantum configuration space. These are deep questions that probe the foundations of reality itself, and we may not have final answers for many years to come. As you rest here, consider how the quantum multiverse makes you feel. Does it bring you peace to know that all possibilities are realized? Or does it create a sense of vertigo, a feeling that nothing is certain and everything is equally real? Both responses are natural. The quantum multiverse is not meant to be comforting or disturbing. It is simply a possible description of reality that emerges from our best theory of the microscopic world. Whether it is true or not, the fact that such an interpretation is even coherent tells us something profound about the nature of existence. Reality is stranger and more open than our everyday experience suggests. At the quantum level, definiteness gives way to superposition, and being gives way to becoming. We live in a universe that is still deciding what it will be. Beyond the inflationary multiverse and the quantum multiverse, there is yet another vision of parallel worlds emerging from theoretical physics. This is the landscape of string theory, a vast space of possible universes with different physical laws, different particles, and different forces. String theory attempts to unify quantum mechanics and general relativity by proposing that the fundamental constituents of nature are not point particles but tiny vibrating strings. Different vibration modes of these strings correspond to different particles. But string theory has a surprising feature. It admits not one unique solution, but an enormous number of possible solutions, perhaps as many as 10 to the power of 500 different configurations. Each configuration represents a possible universe with its own physics. This landscape of possibilities is staggering to contemplate. In some regions of the landscape, the universe has 3 spatial dimensions like ours. In others, there might be more or fewer dimensions. In some universes, electromagnetism is the dominant force. In others, gravity is stronger, or the weak nuclear force behaves differently. The properties we consider fundamental, like the masses of quarks and leptons or the strength of the cosmological constant, are not fixed by the theory but vary across the landscape. Each point in the landscape is a fully consistent universe obeying its own laws of physics. And when we combine this landscape with eternal inflation, we get a multiverse, where different bubble universes might occupy different points in the landscape. Each bubble not only has a different history, but different physics. You might wonder why our universe occupies the particular point in the landscape that it does. Why do we have 3 spatial dimensions and 1 time dimension? Why does the electron have the mass it has? Why is the cosmological constant so small? These questions have puzzled physicists for decades. The traditional hope was that a final theory of everything would uniquely predict all these parameters. But the landscape suggests a different answer. Perhaps there is no unique prediction because many different configurations are possible. Our universe has the properties it does because those properties allow for the existence of observers like us. In the vast landscape, most regions are inhospitable to life. But in the rare regions where conditions are right, observers will naturally find themselves, and they will wonder why the universe seems fine-tuned for their existence. The landscape multiverse is perhaps the most speculative of all the multiverse scenarios we have explored. String theory itself is not yet fully developed or experimentally confirmed, and the landscape of solutions is a consequence of our incomplete understanding of the theory. Some physicists hope that when string theory is better understood, most of the landscape will be ruled out, leaving only a small number of possible universes or perhaps even a unique one. Others believe the landscape is real and that the multiverse is the only way to explain the apparent fine-tuning of our universe without invoking design. The debate continues, and it may be many decades before we have enough evidence to decide. For now, the landscape remains a tantalizing possibility, a vision of reality as a vast space of potential. Let us imagine for a moment what it would be like to travel through this landscape of universes. In one universe, you might find a cosmos where atoms cannot form because the electromagnetic force is too weak. Stars never ignite because gravity cannot compress matter densely enough. The universe is a cold, dark void, empty and sterile. In another universe, the strong nuclear force is slightly stronger, and all hydrogen immediately fuses into helium in the first moments after the Big Bang. There are no long-lived stars, no chemistry, no possibility of complexity. In yet another universe, the cosmological constant is so large that space expands too rapidly for galaxies to form. Matter spreads out into an ever-thinning gruel, never coalescing into interesting structures. These universes are real possibilities in the landscape, but they are lifeless and barren. But in rare pockets of the landscape, conditions are just right. Gravity is strong enough to pull matter together, but not so strong that it immediately collapses into black holes. Electromagnetism is strong enough to bind atoms, but weak enough to allow chemistry. The nuclear forces are balanced to allow the synthesis of heavy elements in stars. The cosmological constant is small enough that the universe lives long enough for stars to shine and planets to form and life to emerge. These rare universes are the ones where observers can exist. And since observers can only find themselves in observer-compatible universes, the apparent fine-tuning is explained not by design, but by selection. We observe a fine-tuned universe, not because it was made for us, but because we could not exist in the untuned ones. As you settle deeper into relaxation, let the concept of the landscape wash over you. It is a vision of existence as exploratory, as if reality itself is exploring the space of what is possible. In the eternal inflation scenario combined with the string theory landscape, the multiverse is constantly generating new universes, each one a different experiment in the possibilities of physics. Most experiments fail. Most universes are simple, empty, or short-lived. But occasionally, the right combination occurs, and the universe like ours emerges, rich with structure and possibility. The multiverse is creative, generative, endlessly trying new configurations. And you are the product of one of those rare, successful experiments. You are the universe, looking back at itself and marveling at the improbability of its own existence. We have journeyed through the scientific theories of the multiverse, from eternal inflation to quantum, many worlds to the string theory landscape. But now let us step back and consider the philosophical implications of these ideas. What does it mean to exist in a multiverse? These are not scientific questions, but human ones, and they deserve our thoughtful attention. The multiverse challenges some of our deepest intuitions about uniqueness and significance. If everything that can happen does happen somewhere, what makes anything special? If every possible version of your life exists, what makes this particular version matter? These are profound questions, and they do not have easy answers. But perhaps they have answers that bring us peace. Let us start with the question of uniqueness. In a single universe, you are unique. There is only one you with your particular genetic code, your particular history, your particular conscious experience. The multiverse seems to take away this uniqueness. If there are infinite versions of you in parallel worlds, making different choices and living different lives, then what is special about this version? But consider this perspective. Even in a multiverse, your subjective experience is irreducibly unique. The particular stream of consciousness that you are, the specific sequence of moments and feelings and thoughts that constitute your life, exists only once, only here, only now. No other version of you in any other universe has had exactly the same subjective experience as you. Your inner life is yours alone. Moreover, uniqueness is not the only source of value. Something can be precious not because it is unique, but because it is meaningful, because it is experienced, because it is connected to other things that matter. Your relationships, your loves, your moments of beauty and insight, these are valuable because of how they feel, not because of how rare they are. If there are other versions of you experiencing similar moments in parallel universes, that does not diminish the value of your moments. It simply means that value is abundant in the multiverse, that love and beauty and wonder are happening everywhere in infinite variations. The multiverse does not take away the preciousness of existence. It multiplies it infinitely. You are not less significant in a multiverse. You are a participant in something far larger and more wonderful than you imagined. So what about purpose? In a single universe, especially one with a creator, there might be a cosmic purpose, a reason why the universe exists and why you exist within it. The multiverse seems to remove this. If the multiverse is simply a brute fact, generating universes endlessly without goal or design, then there is no cosmic purpose. But again, this is only troubling if you believe purpose must come from outside. The existentialist philosophers long ago pointed out that meaning and purpose are not found but created. You give your life purpose through your choices, your relationships, your projects and passions. The absence of cosmic purpose does not leave you adrift. It leaves you free. In a multiverse, there is no script you must follow, no destiny imposed from outside. There is only the purpose you create for yourself through how you live. The multiverse also invites us to reconsider our place in the grand scheme of things. In the ancient and medieval worldviews, humans were at the center of creation, special and chosen. Then science revealed that Earth is not the center of the cosmos, but a small planet orbiting an ordinary star in an ordinary galaxy among billions. This was the Copernican revolution, and it seemed to diminish human importance. The multiverse is another step in this direction. Not only are we not at the center of the universe, but our universe itself might be one of countless others. We are not special in the cosmos. But here is the beautiful twist. The very fact that we can understand this, that we can contemplate our own insignificance and find meaning despite it, makes us cosmically significant in a new way. We are the way the multiverse knows itself. Let us rest for a moment in this thought. You are not the center of anything. You are not unique in the cosmic sense. You were not created for a purpose. And yet you are here. You are aware. You can think and feel and wonder. You can experience love and beauty. You can understand, at least partially, the vast structure of reality that gave birth to you. In a multiverse empty of intrinsic meaning, consciousness like yours is what creates meaning. Every moment of joy you experience, every act of kindness you perform, every insight you have, these are not insignificant. They are how the universe becomes more than mere matter and energy. They are how existence becomes experiential, meaningful, valuable. You are not a spectator in the multiverse. You are a participant in the process by which mere being becomes meaningful being. There is also a strange optimism in the multiverse, especially in the many worlds interpretation. Every failure in this timeline is balanced by success in another. Every tragedy is mirrored by a timeline where things went differently. This does not erase the suffering in any particular timeline, and we must still take our moral responsibilities seriously in this world. But it suggests that in the totality of existence, every possibility is realized. Every potential for happiness is fulfilled somewhere. Every version of you that could thrive does thrive in some branch. The multiverse is not just infinite, it is infinitely generous. It says yes to every possibility, allowing all of them to unfold. In this sense, the multiverse is a kind of cosmic affirmation, a reality that excludes nothing and includes everything. What could be more life-affirming than that? As we continue our journey, let these philosophical reflections settle into your mind. The multiverse is not a cold, sterile concept that removes meaning from existence. It is a vision of reality as abundant, creative, and ultimately mysterious. It invites us to see ourselves not as the center of creation, but as one of countless ways that the universe experiences itself. It challenges us to create our own meaning rather than searching for it in some cosmic blueprint. And it reminds us that existence itself is enough. You do not need to be the only version of you, or the best version, or the chosen version. You need only be this version, present and aware in this moment, participating in the grand adventure of conscious existence. That is enough. That has always been enough. Let that knowledge bring you peace as we drift deeper into the infinite together. There is one more version of the multiverse that we must explore, perhaps the most radical of all. This is the mathematical multiverse hypothesis, proposed by cosmologist Max Tegmark. Tegmark asks a simple but profound question. If the universe is described by mathematics, and mathematics describes many possible structures, then perhaps all mathematical structures exist as physical realities. Every consistent mathematical structure is a universe. This means that our universe is just one mathematical structure among infinitely many. Other mathematical structures exist as other universes, each one as real as ours, each one obeying its own mathematical laws. This is the ultimate multiverse, where existence is coextensive with mathematical possibility. It is a strange and beautiful idea, and it pushes the concept of the multiverse to its logical extreme. To understand this idea, we must first recognize the deep connection between mathematics and physics. When physicists want to describe reality, they use mathematics. The motion of planets is described by differential equations. The behavior of quantum particles is described by wave functions and operators. The structure of space-time is described by the geometry of general relativity. Mathematics is not just a tool we use to describe reality. It seems to be the language in which reality is written. This raises a question. Why does mathematics work so well? Why should the universe obey mathematical laws at all? Tegmark's answer is radical. Mathematics works because the universe is mathematics. There is no distinction between the mathematical description of the universe and the universe itself. They are the same thing. If our universe is a mathematical structure, then what about other mathematical structures? Why should only one mathematical structure exist as a physical reality? Tegmark argues that all mathematical structures exist. Every consistent set of axioms and relations defines a universe. Some of these universes might be similar to ours, differing only in parameter values. Others might be utterly alien, with different numbers of dimensions, different symmetries, different fundamental entities. There could be universes where time does not exist, where space is discrete rather than continuous, where the laws of logic themselves are different. If a mathematical structure is consistent, then it exists as a universe. This is the mathematical multiverse, and it is the largest possible multiverse, containing every conceivable and inconceivable form of existence. You might object that this is too abstract, too removed from physical reality. How can a mathematical structure be a universe? But consider your own experience. What you call reality is actually a set of relationships and patterns. Particles are not tiny billiard balls, but excitations of quantum fields obeying mathematical rules. Forces are not pushes and pulls, but curvatures of space-time described by geometry. Even your consciousness is presumably a pattern of activity in your brain, a mathematical structure unfolding in time. Strip away the intuitive picture, the naive realism of objects in space, and what remains is pure pattern, pure mathematics. The mathematical multiverse hypothesis simply takes this seriously. It says that what we call physical existence is nothing more or less than the instantiation of mathematical structure. And if one structure is instantiated, why not all of them? The mathematical multiverse raises deep questions about the nature of existence. What does it mean to say that a mathematical structure exists? In what sense does an equation exist if there is no mind to conceive it? Tegmark would say that existence is not something additional to mathematical structure. To be is simply to be a coherent pattern, whether or not anyone is aware of that pattern. This is a form of Platonism, the idea that mathematical objects exist independently of human minds. But it goes further. It identifies mathematical existence with physical existence. In this view, there is no distinction between the abstract and the concrete. Every mathematical structure is as real as this one, and this one is as abstract as any other. We are not in a universe. We are a universe, a particular pattern in the infinite space of mathematical possibility. Breathe deeply and let this idea settle. It is perhaps the most abstract concept we have encountered tonight, and that is saying something. But there is a strange beauty in it. The mathematical multiverse suggests that existence is necessary rather than contingent. It did not need to be created. It could not fail to exist. Every possible pattern necessarily exists simply by virtue of being possible. The universe does not need a cause or a creator because it is simply the instantiation of mathematical coherence. And you are part of that coherence. You are a pattern that experiences itself, a mathematical structure that has become aware. In the mathematical multiverse, consciousness is just another form of complexity, another way that patterns can be arranged. But it is a very special arrangement because it is the way the multiverse becomes self-aware. Critics of the mathematical multiverse argue that it is unfalsifiable and therefore unscientific. If every mathematical structure exists, then any observation can be explained by saying, we are in the universe where that observation occurs. There is no prediction that could prove the hypothesis wrong. Tegmark acknowledges this but argues that the hypothesis has explanatory power. It explains why mathematics is so effective at describing reality, why the universe has the particular mathematical structure it does, and why the fundamental constants have the values they have. The mathematical multiverse is not arbitrary. It is the unique answer to the question, why there is something rather than nothing. The answer is that nothingness is impossible. Mathematical structures necessarily exist, and among those structures some contain observers like us, wondering why they exist at all. As we rest in the contemplation of the mathematical multiverse, notice how the concept evolves. We started with the idea that our universe might be one bubble among many, created by eternal inflation. Then we explored the quantum multiverse, where reality branches with every measurement. We considered the string theory landscape, where different bubble universes might have different physical laws. And now we have arrived at the mathematical multiverse, where every possible form of existence is realized simply by virtue of being mathematically possible. Each version of the multiverse is more inclusive than the last, expanding our vision of reality until it encompasses everything that could possibly be. And through it all, you remain here, aware and present, a conscious pattern contemplating the infinite patterns that surround you. This is the deepest gift of the multiverse, the revelation that existence is far larger and stranger than our senses reveal. We have explored the theories, the mathematics, and the philosophy of the multiverse, but science is ultimately about evidence. Can we ever hope to find evidence for the multiverse? Or is it destined to remain an untestable speculation, beautiful but unprovable? This question is crucial, and the answer is more nuanced than you might expect. Some versions of the multiverse might leave observable traces, subtle fingerprints in the cosmic data that we can search for. Other versions might be inherently unobservable, forever beyond our capacity to verify. Let us explore what kinds of evidence might exist and what scientists are doing to search for it. Even if the multiverse cannot be proven with certainty, we may be able to find hints, suggestions that reality is larger than our single universe. One possible source of evidence comes from the cosmic microwave background, the faint glow of radiation left over from the Big Bang. This radiation fills all of space and carries information about the early universe. Cosmologists have studied it in exquisite detail, and it reveals a nearly uniform universe with tiny fluctuations that seeded the formation of galaxies. But what if our bubble universe collided with another bubble in the eternally inflating multiverse? Such a collision might leave a mark in the cosmic microwave background, a pattern of circles or unusual temperature variations. Scientists have searched for such signatures, and so far they have found nothing definitive. But the search continues, and future experiments with greater sensitivity might reveal anomalies that could be interpreted as evidence of other universes. Another potential source of evidence comes from the fundamental constants of nature. We have noted that our universe appears fine-tuned for life, with parameters that seem improbably well calibrated. If the multiverse exists and different bubbles have different parameter values, then we would expect to find ourselves in a universe with observer-friendly parameters. This is the anthropic principle at work, but there might be more than that. Some physicists have tried to predict the probability distribution of different parameter values across the multiverse. If we observe parameters that are typical for observer-bearing universes but not overly fine-tuned, that would be consistent with the multiverse hypothesis. This is subtle evidence, more of a consistency check than a proof, but it is evidence nonetheless. So far, the results are ambiguous but intriguing. The quantum multiverse is perhaps the hardest to test directly because by definition, the different branches are causally disconnected from one another. You cannot observe another branch because you are confined to your own. However, some physicists have proposed clever indirect tests. For example, if the many worlds interpretation is correct, then quantum mechanics should be exact with no collapse mechanism. Any deviation from standard quantum mechanics, any hint of an additional collapse process would count as evidence against many worlds. So far, quantum mechanics has passed every test with flying colors, which is at least consistent with many worlds. There are also proposals for experiments that might reveal subtle interference effects between branches, though these are highly speculative and would require technology far beyond what we currently possess. Some philosophers of science argue that the multiverse is inherently unscientific because it cannot be falsified. If we cannot observe other universes, then the multiverse hypothesis makes no testable predictions. But this criticism is not entirely fair. The multiverse theories do make predictions, just not always about directly observable phenomena. They predict the structure of the cosmic microwave background, the distribution of fundamental constants, the behavior of quantum systems, and the outcome of cosmological observations. If these predictions were contradicted by data, it would count against the multiverse. The fact that the predictions are so far consistent with observations lends the multiverse some credibility, even if it is not definitive proof. Science is not always about certainty. Sometimes it is about which hypothesis best explains the data we have. There is also the question of what we mean by evidence. In everyday life, and in most science, evidence means direct observation. We see the thing and we believe it exists. But in modern physics, we often deal with entities that cannot be directly observed. We cannot see quarks, but we infer their existence from particle collisions. We cannot see black hole interiors, but we infer their properties from general relativity and from the behavior of matter falling into them. The multiverse might be similar. We might never see another universe directly, but we could infer its existence from its indirect effects, from the structure of our own universe, from the predictions of our best theories. This is not a weaker form of evidence. It is how much of modern science works, inferring the unseen from the seen. As you rest here, consider how you feel about uncertainty. The multiverse might never be proven with absolute certainty. It might remain a beautiful possibility, supported by theory and consistent with data, but never directly confirmed. Can you find peace with that? Can you appreciate the idea for its elegance and explanatory power, even if it remains unproven? Science is often like this. We build models that make sense of the world, and we test them as best we can, but we do not always achieve complete certainty. The multiverse invites us to hold our beliefs lightly, to remain open to the possibility that reality is larger and stranger than we can confirm. There is a kind of intellectual humility in this, a recognition that our knowledge is provisional and that mystery will always remain. Let that humility bring you peace. The search for evidence continues. New telescopes are being built to study the cosmic microwave background with unprecedented precision. New experiments are probing the limits of quantum mechanics. New theories are being developed to make more precise predictions about the multiverse. Perhaps in the coming decades, we will find a smoking gun, an undeniable signature of other universes. Or perhaps the multiverse will remain forever just beyond our reach, a theoretical possibility that explains much but proves nothing. Either way, the journey of exploration is valuable in itself. By asking whether the multiverse is real, we push the boundaries of science and philosophy. We learn what kinds of questions we can answer and what kinds might remain eternal mysteries. And we deepen our appreciation for the strange and wonderful cosmos we find ourselves in. As we approach the end of our journey, let us return to the personal, to the question of what the multiverse means for you. We have explored the theories, the evidence, the philosophy. But ultimately, the value of these ideas lies not in their truth or falsehood, but in how they change the way you see yourself and your place in existence. The multiverse, whether real or not, invites you to think bigger, to imagine a reality far larger than the one you can touch and see. It challenges your intuitions and expands your sense of possibility. And it offers a strange kind of comfort. In a multiverse, you are not alone. Even if you never meet another conscious being, there are countless other versions of consciousness out there, experiencing their own versions of existence. The multiverse is teeming with awareness, with observers like you looking out and wondering. The multiverse also offers perspective. When you are overwhelmed by the difficulties of daily life, when problems seem insurmountable and suffering seems pointless, the multiverse reminds you of the larger context. Your struggles are real and they matter to you, but they are also temporary and local, confined to this one timeline in one universe. This does not diminish your pain, but it frames it differently. You are not suffering alone in a hostile cosmos. You are one thread in an infinite tapestry, and the tapestry as a whole is rich with beauty and meaning, even when individual threads are dark. There is comfort in knowing that your story, however painful, is part of something larger. You are not the totality of existence. You are a participant in existence, and existence continues beyond you in infinite forms. The multiverse also invites a particular kind of ethical reflection. If every possible action you could take is taken in some branch of the multiverse, does that make your choices less meaningful? Not at all. Your choices determine which branch you consciously experience. They shape your subjective timeline, your particular journey through the space of possibilities. Even if another version of you makes a different choice, that does not lessen the consequences of your choice for you. You are still responsible for the world you create, for the relationships you build, for the person you become. The multiverse does not erase moral responsibility. It simply embeds it in a larger context. Your actions matter because they determine the quality of your experience and the experiences of those you affect. That is meaning enough. There is also something liberating about the multiverse. It suggests that reality is generous, that existence says yes to all possibilities. You do not need to be perfect in this timeline because all versions of you, flawed and perfect, exist somewhere. This is not an excuse for apathy or irresponsibility. You should still strive to be the best version of yourself in this timeline, but it takes away the crushing pressure of thinking that this one life is all there is, that you must get everything right or face ultimate failure. The multiverse whispers that it is okay to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to grow and change. Every possible version of your journey is unfolding somewhere. In this timeline, just be present. Be authentic. Be kind to yourself and others. That is enough. Let us also consider the multiverse as a meditation on impermanence. In a single universe, everything that ends is gone forever. Death is final. Lost opportunities never return. But in the multiverse, nothing is truly lost. Every moment that ever was exists eternally in some branch, some timeline, some configuration of reality. The you of yesterday still exists in the past light cone of this universe. The versions of you who made different choices still exist in parallel branches. Even after your death in this timeline, other versions of you continue in other timelines. The multiverse is a kind of eternal preservation of all possible moments. This does not mean you should not grieve loss or appreciate the present, but it offers a gentle reminder that nothing truly vanishes. All moments are eternal in the four-dimensional space-time of the multiverse. As you breathe slowly and deeply, let the concept of the multiverse wash over you like a wave. It does not need to be true for it to be valuable. Even as a thought experiment, as a way of imagining possibility, it has gifts to offer. It reminds you that reality is larger than your immediate experience. It invites you to hold your beliefs lightly, to remain curious and open. It challenges the illusion that what you see is all there is, and it offers a vision of existence as infinitely creative, endlessly diverse, and fundamentally mysterious. You are a small part of something vast, and that is not a diminishment, but an invitation. An invitation to wonder, to explore, to appreciate the improbable gift of your own awareness. The multiverse, real or imagined, is a doorway to awe. Some people find the multiverse frightening, and this is understandable. It challenges our sense of control and significance. But consider reframing your relationship to it. Instead of seeing the multiverse as a cold, impersonal vastness that makes you irrelevant, see it as a reminder that existence is far more generous than you imagined. Instead of feeling lost in infinity, feel held by it. You are not separate from the multiverse. You are an expression of it, a way it experiences itself. Every breath you take is the multiverse breathing. Every thought you think is the multiverse thinking. Every moment of love or beauty you experience is the multiverse loving and appreciating its own existence through you. You are not in the multiverse. You are the multiverse, localized, particular, aware. Let that identity bring you peace. We have traveled far tonight, from the explosive birth of our universe to the eternal inflation of bubble universes, from the quantum branching of many worlds to the mathematical space of all possible realities. We have contemplated questions of meaning and purpose, evidence and speculation, fear and wonder. And now it is time to return home, to come back to this present moment, to this universe, to this body, to this breath. The journey through the multiverse is not an escape from reality, but a way to see reality more clearly. And what it reveals is that this moment, right here, right now, is precious beyond measure. Out of all the infinite possibilities, you are experiencing this one. Out of all the countless universes, you are aware in this one. That is a miracle worth savoring. Bring your attention to your breath. Notice the sensation of air moving in and out of your lungs. This breath is happening now, in this universe, in this timeline. It is real and immediate. The multiverse, with all its wonders and mysteries, does not change this fundamental fact. You are here. You are breathing. You are alive. Let that simple truth anchor you. The vastness of the multiverse is fascinating to contemplate, but it is not where you live. You live here, in this particular configuration of matter and energy, in this particular stream of consciousness. And this is enough. This is where your life happens, where your choices matter, where love and connection and meaning are possible. The multiverse frames your existence, but it does not replace it. You are still here, still present, still real. As you settle deeper into relaxation, consider what you will take away from this journey. Perhaps it is a sense of perspective, a reminder that your worries are small in the cosmic scheme of things. Perhaps it is a feeling of connection, knowing that consciousness like yours exists in countless forms throughout reality. Perhaps it is simple wonder, the awe-inspiring recognition that existence is far stranger and more beautiful than you were taught. Or perhaps it is peace, the tranquility that comes from accepting your place in the infinite without needing to understand or control it. Whatever you take away, let it nourish you. Let it deepen your appreciation for the mystery of being alive. The multiverse is a gift to your imagination, a way to expand your sense of what is possible. The universe you inhabit is extraordinary. It began nearly 14 billion years ago in a burst of unimaginable energy. Space expanded, particles formed, forces separated. Gravity pulled matter together into the first stars, and those stars forged the heavy elements in their cores. Generations of stars lived and died, enriching space with the materials for planets. Whoa. At least one planet, and probably many more, chemistry became complex enough to become biology. Life emerged, evolved, diversified, and eventually, after billions of years, conscious beings appeared, capable of looking back at the cosmos and understanding its history. You are one of those beings. You are the universe reflecting on itself. Whether or not there are infinite other universes, this one produced you, and that is remarkable beyond words. Sometimes the scientific worldview is portrayed as cold or reductionist, as if understanding how things work removes their beauty and meaning. But this is backwards. The more we understand about the cosmos, the more awe-inspiring it becomes. The fact that the atoms in your body were forged in the cores of dying stars does not diminish you. It connects you to the cosmos in the most intimate way. The fact that your consciousness arises from billions of neurons firing in patterns does not make your thoughts and feelings less real. It reveals consciousness as an emergent property of complexity, a way that matter can organize itself to become aware. The multiverse, too, does not diminish the wonder of existence. It amplifies it, suggesting that reality is even more vast and creative than we imagined. Science does not remove magic. It reveals the real magic that has been here all along. As we near the end of our time together, I want to thank you for taking this journey with me. Contemplating the multiverse requires patience, curiosity, and a willingness to sit with uncertainty. You have done that tonight. You have allowed yourself to imagine possibilities far beyond the everyday, to consider ideas that challenge your intuitions, to wonder about the nature of existence itself. That kind of contemplation is valuable not because it leads to definite answers, but because it exercises your capacity for awe and wonder. In a world that often feels small and mundane, that demands constant action and productivity, taking time to wonder about the nature of reality is a radical act. It reminds you that you are not merely a worker or a consumer, but a conscious being capable of appreciating the grand mystery of existence. Let yourself rest now. Let the concepts and questions settle into the background of your mind. You do not need to hold on to them tightly or remember every detail. The value of this journey is not in intellectual mastery, but in the subtle shift it creates in how you see things. Perhaps tomorrow, when you look up at the night sky, you will feel a little different. Perhaps you will remember that those stars are not just distant lights, but gateways to thinking about infinite possibilities. Perhaps when you make a choice, you will remember that every choice branches reality, and that will make you more present and intentional. Or perhaps the effect will be even subtler, just a quiet sense that reality is larger and stranger than it appears. Let the multiverse work on you in its own time, in its own way. Before we part, take one more slow, deep breath. Feel your body relaxing completely, releasing any remaining tension. Feel gratitude for this moment, for your ability to wonder and imagine, for the improbable gift of consciousness. You are a temporary pattern in the cosmos, a brief flourishing of complexity and awareness. Whether you exist once or infinitely many times, whether this universe is unique or one among countless others, your experience right now is real and valuable. You are here. You are aware. You are a part of the vast unfolding of existence. Rest in that knowledge. Let it bring you peace. And when you are ready, whether in a few moments or hours from now, return to your day with fresh eyes. The multiverse awaits your contemplation, but so does the simple beauty of this world, this life, this breath. Thank you for journeying with me through infinity. Until we meet again among the stars. Our contemplation of the multiverse has come to an end, but the wonder remains. Every time you close your eyes, every time you imagine what could have been or what might be, you are touching the infinite. The multiverse, whether literal truth or beautiful metaphor, reminds us that reality is larger than we can see and more mysterious than we can comprehend. And in that mystery, there is peace. If you found tranquility in this journey, consider subscribing to Cosmic Calm for more explorations of space, science, and the nature of existence. Until next time, rest well, dream deeply, and remember that you are a conscious part of an infinite cosmos, forever unfolding in ways we are only beginning to understand.